by State Farm. Approaching midway point of the second round of this NBA draft, and moments ago, Kessler Edwards out of Pepperdine. Mighty fine on the dime.
It's mighty fine at the dime, Reese Davis. As Jim Herrick used to say, Kessler Edwards is a 6'8" long-arm defender, and he's a versatile player really at both ends. He can knock down perimeter shots, pretty good handle. It reminded me defensively a little bit of Josh Howard when he played at Wake Forest. Like he could be like a perimeter shot blocker at times. Played with Colby Ross, who is a really good guard. But Kessler Edwards has a good upside. He's a good player.
I think it's a great pick. You know, you saw him at the pre-draft combine. I mean, he was guarding 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, and he's got kind of an unorthodox stroke. It's not exactly how you teach it, but he shot over 35% from 3 at Pepperdine, and so I think he's kind of a plug-and-play type of guy and a good value for Brooklyn.
Had a good season, averaged 17 points, almost 7 rebounds this past year. So let's look at the best available players. And the dynamic point guard from Auburn, Sharif Cooper, who only played a dozen games this past year, but was absolutely sensational for Bruce Pearl, is still sitting there on the board.
Yeah, when's the last time a freshman averaged 20 and 8 and showed some of the glimpses that he did? I mean, he's magic with the ball in his hands and went in the 40s this late. I can't remember.
Surprising.
Surprising
when been here this long.
Look, when things like that happen, it has nothing to do with the kid and his talent. It's the outside things that come into play.
He's not the biggest guy in the world, and he doesn't shoot well. But I mean, the other things are really elite. I mean,
he averaged 8 assists a game.
Yeah,
and he's got the ball in a string. He's an absolute wizard with the basketball.
I mean, he did. Now, as I said, he only played about 12 games for Auburn because of some eligibility situations. But man, I mean, he came in. He didn't need any time at all to get into the groove. And Auburn elevated was a much better team, and the numbers are comparable the last quarter century to Trae Young. In terms of guys, freshmen scored 20 points a game and had 8 assists.
Well, Reese, Mike, Jay, y'all don't know, right? Look, talent is one thing, but this is why those interviews are so important, right? This is why teams want to know your background. They want to know who's around you. They want to know what type of circle you have, because you can find talent anywhere, but they want to know where your mindset is at, and I think we're seeing this right now.
Hey, we're hearing from the Celtics for the first time.
With the 45th pick in the 2021 NBA Draft, the Boston Celtics select Juan Begaron from Paris, France.
Juan Begaron, a guard from Paris, is going to Boston. Boston retooling things in the front office there.
Yeah, he's a long-armed wing, 6'6", 7-foot wingspan. Actually born in Guadeloupe, raised in France. And think Josh Okogie with him, okay? An energy wing who's going to come in and defend, get downhill, get up and down in transition. Still needs to refine his skill set in terms of his perimeter shooting, his decision-making. But this is a long-term play. And I think if he were in college or in the United States, he would probably have a little bit more draft buzz.
His brother's a longtime professional player, so certainly he knows what it's like to be a pro. And Boston making the change, moved Brad Stevens into the front office, and they've got a couple guys to build around. They're already good with Tatum and Brown. They add another piece here, Per.
Absolutely, and you just want to add pieces in that guys that's going to go out there and compete. That's been the lack on the Celtics. I covered them throughout the season, and they just don't play hard at times. And you want a guy like this that's going to come in off the bench and provide energy when you need that spark when they're hanging their heads. So I actually like this pick by the Boston Celtics. And no, I'm not going to try to pronounce his name.
I think you've done a great job. If nothing else, I'm gonna tell you, I've got your back with Jefferson now on too.
I'm used to it.
He just sits up there and chirps.
He gives me a hard time, whether it's about my broken English, my weight. I mean, it's nonstop with him, you know.
He did have a point about your shoulders in the 2-box.
Yeah. Truth is a defense sometimes too, Perk. You know, didn't fill up that 2-box for sure. Raptors are on the clock right now. They took Scotty Barnes. It was really the first surprise of the night. We most expected Jalen Suggs to go there. Not that Scotty Barnes isn't sensational, but you can find a lot of terrific players this stage of the draft. Isaiah Thomas was the last player taken. Draymond was 35th. Chris Middleton, picked by the Pistons, but of course has made his fame with the Bucks now.
MVP.
Jokic goes to MVP. We showed you this earlier, the lowest overall draft pick in terms of late in the draft to win the MVP is Jokic, 41st overall at 14, and now the reigning MVP. I don't know you never know if there's MVP caliber talent at this stage in the draft, but there's still certainly plenty to go. Now that the Raptors have taken Barnes, what would make sense for them here? Are we at a stage now where you just try to get the best talent you can?
I think you get the best talent, and Sharif Cooper is still a really interesting name for me. You also look at a guy like B.J. Boston, who was really highly rated coming out of high school. We had him in the top 5, because he had that prototype size, 6'7", 7-foot wingspan, could score it at all 3 levels, and really just didn't have a good freshman season, wasn't very efficient, didn't make a ton of shots, needs to defend with a little more physicality. But do you take a talent swing there if you are the Raptors?
Well, at this point in the draft, you take the best available talent, and he may very well be that, he and Sharif Cooper. It's surprising to me that B.J. Boston has dropped this far because he does have ability and he does have talent, and he was very well regarded before the season started.
And Raptors probably turning the page after Kyle Lowry, too.
Absolutely. And they do a great job of developing players.
Mark Tatum marching to the podium.
We have a completed trade to announce. The Orlando Magic trade the draft rights to Jason Preston, the 33rd pick, to the LA Clippers for a future second-round pick and financial considerations. With the 46th pick in the 2021 NBA Draft, the Toronto Raptors select Delano Banton from Toronto and the University of Nebraska.
Delano Banton.
He's got a lot of game. He's got size, he has vision, he can really see the floor, and he plays kind of that point forward style. They really just put the ball in his hands at Nebraska and said, go make plays. And it's really his feel for the game that stands out most. Needs to improve as a perimeter shooter, gain some more physicality. I saw him at the BioSteel All-Canada game out in Canada. Had a little bit of a windy path to get to Nebraska, but the talent is certainly there, and Toronto has done a great job of developing exactly that.
And Toronto will make another selection as we continue in the second round.
Don't you fight it till you try to do that conga. Do that conga. No, you can control yourself any longer. Hurt the mother music getting stronger. Don't you fight it till you try to do that conga.
I got shorty with me making plans on the jet.
Couple more sips on my lips and we set, baby.
Get what you want, pick what you want.
Say less, do more, get your body on the dance floor. Do that conga beat.
Arby's, 2 for $6 every day. Classic beef and cheddar hog. 2 of those things for just $6. Arby's, we have the meat.
I've been on my get back, copper bag slow. You would never see that. Use the trap dough.
Done. I'm done.
Get a insanely fast offer on your car in 2 minutes or less.
Let's go!
Whoa! What a battle! Keep grinding. Starts here.
Thousands of years ago, even if you were sitting at the top, you really...
What we value most should be held in our hands. A trust that fuels us to know exactly where we stand. When the care we give back shows up in everything we do, then we become the good we can't afford to lose. There's power in our purpose to reach higher than before. What we value most shouldn't cost more.
Saturday from the Apex in Las Vegas, Uriah Hall takes on Sean Strickland in the middleweight main event. Prelims start at 6 o'clock Eastern on ESPN and ESPN Deportes. That could include Kendrick Perkins against Richard Jefferson, or followed by the main card at 9 Eastern. As always, you can stream it all on the ESPN app. Dress for the job you want